Joining me now is attorney Tom Renz. He is just one of a few. Ivan Raiklin is out there. Tom Renz is out there. I think we could add Annie Cyrus for sure. There's several of them, probably Leo Holman. We could add several people that are warning. They're very troubled by what's happening. Well, Patrick Wood. I think we could add Patrick Wood to the list. I don't want to speak for all these people, but I think you've seen what they've said when they come on the program. And there is a chorus of voices that is indeed growing. People that were willing and excited to give Trump 2.0 administration a shot at making America great again. But now the chorus of voices, as I said, is growing of people that are becoming very, very, if not suspect, some absolutely are just warning that traps have been set. President Trump is either in the dark, he's controlled, and some are even saying he's being set up. Here is Tom Renz today. He said it, warning, Trump is being set up again. He joins us now, attorney Tom Renz, and he was retweeting Ivan Raiklin. Attorney, counselor, welcome back to the broadcast. Thanks for being with us.
Good to see you, House.
You too, my friend. So tell me about your concern about Trump being set up again. Why did you use the word again, by the way?
Well, I mean, listen, we go back to Trump 1.0. You have Bill Barr, you have Mike Pence. We're seeing now in real time all the evidence of how many times this guy was stabbed in the back. Trump is brilliant and he does great things, but the one thing he absolutely sucks at is hiring the right people around him. And I think that's happening again. He's got, starting with World Economic Forum Wiles and Pfizer Pam Bondi, I just think it's not going well.
Now, when you say World Economic Forum, Susie Wiles, what did she do at the World Economic Forum?
Well, Susie Wiles worked for Mercury LLC. In fact, she was a managing partner right up through the campaign. And to my knowledge, she hasn't resigned. I don't know. Maybe she still has. But she is a managing partner at Mercury LLC. Well, Mercury LLC, as a company, represented Pfizer. They represented Gavi. That's Bill Gates's crew. Gilead, Alibaba, all these different groups. I mean, literally every bad guy you can imagine. They were also owned by a company known as Omnicom. So Omnicom, and I actually broke this, I want to say back in March or April of 2024. I said, hey, Trump, you got a snake in the woodshed here. You got a problem. And I put it out there and said, we should really be looking at the people around the president because he surrounds himself with people and sometimes they're not good. Well, Omnicom is a World Economic Forum partner company. They are as close as it gets. So you've got Omnicom owning Mercury, owning Susie Wiles. We all see that then she hires her AG buddy who worked with her at another lobbying firm, Ballard Partners, to come in when Matt Gaetz shut down. Matt Gaetz, everybody fights about. Nobody wants Matt Gaetz. Pam Bondi, she sails right through, and you never hear the press ripping Pam Bondi. She's on Fox News 85 times a day. She's arresting no one. She's doing nothing. Everybody's fine with Pam Bondi doing nothing, but Matt Gaetz gets crucified. That tells you all you need to know.
What do you make when you talk about people being, targeted? In that vein, what do you make of Secretary of War Pete Hegseth? I mean, they're really going after him. Does that not tell us something?
Well, it does. I mean, Hegseth is getting targeted all over the place. But Hegseth is he's a straight up warrior. I haven't met Pete, but you can see he's a soldier, special forces. He's a fighter, and he's cleaning house at the DOD. I mean, he really is. That's not to say it's clean. It's going to take a while because Obama spent a lot of time putting crooks in, at the DOD, CIA, all these different places. But, he's doing what he can. He's getting rid of the transgender troop stuff. He's getting rid of all these different things, working on trying to make it right, although it hasn't been done. The guys that got threw out on the vaccine nonsense. Hegseth is doing good things, and you can see how this works, right? Hegseth's doing good things, so they go after him. Bobby is really especially, I know you just had Nick on, we look at what's going on with the absolute travesty that were the COVID vaccines. You have literally the most dangerous consumer product probably ever allowed to be on the market. Still there, no accountability. And instead, we're having dinner with Bill Gates and Anthony Bourla, doing big government deals with Pfizer, of all people. Instead of marching them in an orange jumpsuit, we're marching them into the White House and having dinner with them. You can see the guys that are effective are getting attacked and beat up. Bobby is, Bobby's hands are just tied behind his back. Hegseth, he's getting attacked all over the place. Then you go to people like Bondi, like Wiles, you get either nothing on them or praise.
And then let's go to this one. Patriot warriors, you say, are getting tired of fighting to get our side to do what it promised. Now there are rumors that President Trump is replacing Pfizer Pam Bondi with Trey Gowdy, of all people. Wait a minute. Is that the Trey Gowdy on Fox with what looks like, in my opinion, a dead, muskrat on his head or skunk or something up there? I don't know what that thing is up there. But, I mean, is that the guy, Trey Gowdy? Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't that the guy that was like always promising us this investigation and that investigation and this was going to come down and that was going to come down? And at the end of the day, I don't think we ever saw much happen with Trey Gowdy, which, of course, seems to be the Washington way, right?
Yeah, well, I think that's the plan, right? So Trump historically, there's two things that are, I don't mean to be terrible about this, but if you look at Trump's approach to lawyers, there's two things that Generally, he doesn't like them. And when he hires them, they're usually, blonde and look good on camera. He just doesn't like lawyers, and I get that. I mean, as a lawyer, I can tell you I don't like most of them. But the problem that we have here is that the person who's got his ear is Susie Wiles. Wiles, I mean, she is a Bush holdover, and I've got a theory, House, and I can't prove this. But I had a buddy of mine, he's a whistleblower type guy. Yeah, he had some, I'm not going to mention his names. I could, but I don't have permission. He texted me the other day, and he knew Wiles back in the Bush Reagan era. And he talked about how Wiles was actually, she would betray Reagan all the time, in favor of Bush. She's a Bush loyalist, right? She's been around forever. Well, now you hear that the Bush family is talking about how they kind of want to rekindle the dynasty and come back into power. There's some rattling about that. And, meanwhile, look at what's happening under the Trump administration. Well, his chief of staff, who is famously controlling his schedule, right? The reason no one will speak out about it is because if you so much as hint that you don't want to kiss Wiles' rear, you will never get access to Trump again. And so most of the big influencers, a lot of the conservatives are afraid to say anything because they want access to Trump. They make money off of access to Trump. So nobody's saying too much. Problem is she's keeping, I can attest with all the COVID work I did, she kept every scientist. There were a couple times where we had scientists and people who were credible, who were smart. They were supposed to meet with Trump and talk to him about certain things, and she shut down the meeting. There were a number of people who she kept away during the campaign, kept away from Trump. There's even, I know personally of one instance where Trump himself said, hey, I want to meet with this person, and then Wiles blocked the meeting. Trump probably forgot. He said, hey, I want to meet with this person, set it up. And then this person calls to get the meeting, and Wiles blocks it. Right. So this kind of stuff's been, it's well known in the people in and around Trump. She's the gatekeeper. And like I said, I'd be happy to find out I was wrong about all this. But if I'm wrong, that means that Trump himself is supporting this stuff. And I don't think Trump is doing this. I don't think Trump is aware of some of this stuff. If he is, then he's not the guy we thought he was. So one of two things is true. Either he's being manipulated by crooked people, and he's got the same weakness that he had the first term, which is he hires terrible people, or he's not the guy we thought he is. And I don't think that's the case.
Well, I hope that's not the case. Let's switch to Tina Peters. Of course, I had the chance to interview Tina many times over the years working with Mike Lindell. And that poor lady, I think she has cancer, if I remember correctly. She's a Gold Star mother. Her son was, I think, Special Forces. He passed away. I think she's, 70 years old or something? And
Yep.
she's sitting still in a jail or prison in Colorado. I think President Trump, to his credit on this one too, has put out, hey, look, I want this lady released. Okay.
Yep.
But now I'm reading that she's going back into solitary confinement. At least that's what I read from someone I think that tweets on behalf of her and her team. What's the latest you have on Tina Peters?
Yeah, I saw the same thing, and that account is close to her. Apparently she's been put back in solitary, and I kind of hit the roof on this. Tina's a wonderful woman. I know her. I was hopeful that she would get some justice. Tina Peters is the only clerk of in the entire United States that had the courage and wherewithal to actually back up the data to prove the corruption of the 2020 election. She went to jail for this. This woman stood behind Donald Trump and his 2020 election claims to the point that she went to jail at 70 years old. She is now in jail. There's numerous accounts of situations where the jails are not treating her right, where they're not doing this, they're not doing that, where she's just basically being abused in the system. She is sitting in jail, and I'm sorry, House, I don't want to make anybody mad, but Tina Peters put her butt on the line so that Donald Trump could sit in the White House. He's now sitting in the White House. She's sitting in jail, and his AG, his staff, they can't be inconvenienced to do anything about this. Trump himself has tweeted, I want her out, right, to his credit. What's happening? Now I'll get people who say, oh, no, we can't do anything. It's state charges. There's nothing we can do. That's a load of crap, okay? That is an absolute load of crap. First of all, Peter Tickton just made the legal argument. Peter Tickton's an attorney. He's actually a personal friend of Trump's. He went to high school with Trump, and he just requested that Trump pardon Peters. Now, they're saying that Trump can't do it because it's state charges. That's possible. We don't know. That's never been tested in the courts, whether the president of the United States can pardon a state level charge. It's untested, and we don't know whether it's valid or not. So that's there.
And this is the letter right here, correct?
Yes, that's the letter. It was a nice letter by Peter. He did a great job on that. And by the way, interesting, on the second page of that letter, because Patrick Byrne put the whole thing out, the second page, if you go about halfway down, they talk about the Venezuelans that were allowed into this country during 2006. And they were allowed in this country. They're given visas, and they were that second paragraph there that you can see right now. In 2006, numerous Venezuelans were working for the Smartmatic, were deployed to the United States, given visas, and began modifying the machines. Right. So these Venezuelans come in 2006 and start messing with our election machines. They were given visas. Everybody, according to this letter, everybody knew that these guys were there to screw with our stuff, yet they were given visas anyways. Now, who was president during 2006? Bush.
That would be Bush, yeah.
Bush. Yeah. Now, what did I just say? So, the stories I'm hearing is that Wiles is a Bush loyalist. Does all this add up a little bit? We're starting to get a picture here. This to me. Yeah, listen, the Bush family, the Clintons, the Obamas, they're all taking pictures, hanging out, being besties. This is just more deep state corruption. This is more, H.W. was CIA. He was straight up king of the CIA. This to me looks like just an ongoing effort to undermine the president. Do you really think, does anybody believe that Pam Bondi, who, by the way, Pam Bondi was AG in Florida while Epstein was trafficking kids through his Palm Beach mansion? Did she do anything, or did she look the other way? Is there any wonder why she can't find the files? And this is everything I see just points to corruption, right? My lawyer Spidey sense just keeps going nuts on this. It just, everywhere we look, House, Over and over again, we're seeing corruption. Could they do something with Tina Peters? Of course they could do something with Tina Peters. Do you think that Tina Peters would remain in jail if the DOJ launched the kind of investigation that it did against the J6ers, against the Colorado officials who broke? I mean, I can just tell you the irregularities, I say that with air quotes, in the Tina Peters trial could fill 3 books. It's absurd. The just beyond there, the DOJ could be investigating for corruption. There could be look at RICO charges. There's so many different things they could do. And I'll just bet you that if they decided to play hardball like they did against our J6ers, we'd see some things moving. But no, there's nobody going to do that. We can't inconvenience. So you got, AG Bondi up there telling Donald Trump, you're the greatest thing ever. I'm so wish we could do something. I can't figure out what we could possibly do. It's insanity. It's insanity. Of course you can do something. You just don't want to.
Do you think, Tom, that President Trump, now I guess I saw a video you put out or someone put out, you retweeted or something, that Susie Wiles is saying, I haven't told him yet, but we're going to do a 2024 style campaign for the midterms. Why would she say I haven't told him yet, but that's what we're going to do? I mean, number one, but number two, is that to set him up? In other words, we're going to get him out there, get him to be the big spokesperson, and then we're going to see a massive loss of midterms for Republicans, and it'll be closely tied to Donald Trump, who's out there campaigning for all these candidates that lost. Thus, yep. MAGA is over. That'll be the funeral march of MAGA. Is that what I sense coming from your concern?
Yep. Yeah, that's exactly what I posted. In fact, it's exactly what I think's happening here. So listen, we're heading towards the midterms. The Republicans have done absolutely nothing. No DOGE cuts. No legislation to ensure that AI doesn't destroy all of our jobs. No legislation of any sort, of any use at all. The crappy, big, beautiful bill, which just added to our debt, and it wasn't really that good of a bill. I mean, they've done nothing. The GOP has done absolutely nothing. People are mad about it. They're equally mad that the administration, no arrest of any real criminals that are doing anything. I mean, they're great at arresting low-level nobodies. They do a great job on that. But we brought them in to drain the swamp. There is no one. They're not touching anybody in the swamp. And when they do arrest them, they do like Comey. They put together a crappy case that they threw intentionally. There is no way on this planet that they didn't know that the Comey case was going to be thrown. Literally, the law straight up, and I posted this, House. It's up there. The DOJ's out there saying, left-wing judges. We do have terrible left-wing judges. There's no question about that. But in this case, they literally put someone. Halligan was set up. She's probably a fine person and probably a great lawyer. She was set up 100%. The law very, very clearly states, and I quote, 28 U.S.C. 546, at the expiration of 120 days after the appointment by the AG under this section, an attorney is no longer able to be there without being given the okay by the Senate, right? So you got 120 days. It then goes on, the law then goes on to say specifically, if the appointment expires under subsection C2, that's the 120 days by the AG, the district court for such district may appoint a U.S. attorney to serve until the vacancy is filled. There is no question who gets to appoint that attorney. It ain't the AG. That's very, very clear. It just says it in plain English. Plain English. But they're acting like, it's a radical judge that didn't let us break the law. No, Bondi knew exactly what she was doing. She filed a crappy case, didn't include 90% of what she could have included against Comey, and she filed it so that the case could be thrown out just as the statute of limitations kicked in. So now there's all these issues. The case, Comey's not getting anything. This was filed to try and look good, even though she knew no attorney on this planet could be this stupid. There's no way that the AG of the United States is so incompetent that she didn't realize this was going to happen. Just like there's no way on this planet that she didn't know having Maureen Comey oversee the Diddy case was going to result in the same thing that happened when Maureen Comey was involved in all the other sex trafficking cases. A whitewash. all we're seeing is corruption dressed up to look like something good is happening, and it's a load of crap.
Is the deep state so deep that it's penetrated both parties on both sides so equally that there's really not a whole lot of hope of anything happening between now and the time they run out the clock on Trump's term?
1,000%. Well, there's hope. If Donald Trump takes charge, and this is what I'm doing, like, I'm not trying to rip Trump. I'm trying to ask MAGA, if you support Donald Trump, if you, like I, fought you with all your heart to try and get him into office because you wanted a MAGA America, now is the time. You need to be tweeting. You need to be posting on Truth Social. You need to be speaking out. You need to be saying, fire Susie Wiles, fire Pam Bondi, replace them with legitimate, real MAGA Americans. No more garbage swamp creatures from the Bush crew or from God knows what. I mean, we have the woman who was in charge of prosecuting J6ers overseeing the pipe bomb case. Are you kidding me?
And does that pipe bomb case smell fishy to you? I mean,
that's a load of crap.
Did that boy?
That's kind of like telling me Charlie Kirk got shot with a 30-06 and his steel bone stopped the bullet. Really? I mean,
do you think that young man had anything to do with it? Because it sounds like he has. I don't know. I don't want to. I don't want to
hear.
What do you? I mean, he seems to have maybe some special needs. Is that right? That's what I've read.
From what I hear, he's autistic.
Yeah, that's what I read.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know for sure, but listen, this looks like a patsy from beginning to end. I mean, there's just nothing about this that looks real. I mean, they just find someone who fits the profile and that they can blame it on, it looks like to me. No, I think that smells to high heaven. You know, I don't at all. You know, it's interesting because Glenn Beck and the Blaze, they do real good work. And I know that they're focused on this gate analysis stuff, but, you know, they identify someone who is now CIA.
Yeah, let's not name him because I don't want to get sued by this person. But they named this person, which I thought, wow, that's really risky because if it's not the person, she's going to sue the living daylights out of you, I think.
It's very risky. And yet I don't see anything about any lawsuits, any defamation suits. You know, the discovery would be real interesting, though. Mm-hmm. And I'll be real honest. If there's no lawsuit there, I gotta ask some real questions. But, you know, it's funny. It's like the guy that shot Trump in the ear. You know, lone gunman, right? I mean, clearly he just decided one day to do this. I mean, lone gunman. I mean, how many different assassination attempts or successful assassinations, like God rest his soul, Charlie Kirk, have to happen where we see just fact patterns that don't add up? And by the way, I hate doing this, man. I hate doing this, House. But during COVID, we all learned something really important. And I asked this question to you during COVID 1,000 times. I said, I've just shown you where Anthony Fauci lied to me. When do you trust a liar? Now, let's compare that with Kash Patel coming out. Kash, who I always liked, and I don't know, coming out telling me that there's no Epstein files, that there's nothing going on there. For 30 years, everybody has acknowledged and known that Epstein was child trafficking to billionaires. Everybody knows. There's court records, there's documents, there's more stuff than you know. According to Pam Bondi, there's a truckload of data. Patel goes out to Congress and says, oh no, this is fake news. When do you trust a liar? And listen, I don't care if it's someone I like or not. If you're going to lie on an issue as important as child trafficking, I don't care who you are. I want to protect kids a lot more than I want to protect, you know, someone who would lie about it. Mm-hmm. So when do you trust a liar? This FBI, Pam Bondi are demonstrable liars. When do you trust a liar?
Let me go to this tweet by President Trump yesterday that's got a lot of people concerned, myself included. He says there must be only one rule book if we are going to continue to lead in AI. We're beating all countries at this point in the race, but that won't last long if we're going to have 50 states, many of them bad actors, involved in rules and the approval process. There can be no doubt about this. AI will be destroyed in its infancy. I will be doing a one rule executive order this week. You can't expect a company to get 50 approvals at every time they want to do something. That will never work. Well, I go back to the issue of the states. The 50 states have the right, I think, to regulate some of this stuff inside their borders. The powers the federal government has are limited and express, and the unlisted powers belong to the states in respect to people thereof, the 10th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. I'm sorry if the tech bros get frustrated because they want to set up all their data centers in this state, that state, and whatnot, and do these things, and they don't want to, run into a roadblock in Tennessee or Texas or states where the grassroots have mobilized and have said, I don't want to be tracked everywhere. I don't want to have a digital ID to get online. I don't want to have a digital ID to go vote. I don't want to have a digital ID and biometrics to get on an airplane. I don't want to have central bank programmable dollars. And so I don't want to do all this. And states maybe are going to pass legislation to try to protect their people. But is the president now saying we don't have that right? He doesn't want us to have that right? I mean, I don't know about you. I'm going to have Joe Allen on in the new year. He's buried right now, but he thinks we're way down the road and that this is way worse than any of us realize what's coming. And we got President Trump apparently working with the tech bros to bring us the system. Now, this is what many of us warned about before he was elected. We said our fear is they're going to let Trump win and have Trump sell this to the American people as he's a good salesman. And I'm concerned that that's what's happened. And I don't like this tweet because when he says that there's going to be one rule book, well, what is that one rule book? Where is it? Can we read the one rule book? Is it written already? Can we read it? Where is it? Number one. Number two, why do states have to, surrender their autonomy to the tech bros through the federal government who's gone into partnership with them? Isn't that the epitome of the Klaus Schwab public-private partnership, big government, big business? Isn't that what our states are supposed to protect us from as 50 sovereign republics that created the federal government, not to be mastered by the federal government and a digital Gestapo?
Yep. So, House, it is worse than I think, and you and I haven't talked lately, so you may not have seen this. If you look at the thread pinned to the top of my Twitter profile right now, you will see where I break down the fact that we now have in this country, you as of this moment, you have a digital ID. Donald Trump facilitated that. And he did it because, I don't know why, but we have digital ID right now. And I broke this down, and this is law, folks. I mean, you're welcome to, people can look this up. Take a look at my tweet. I literally, if you look at the thread and you scroll down, you'll see how I break this down.
Now, how do I, Real ID excuse my ignorance, but how do I get into that thread? How do I get into it?
Just click on it. Click on it there and scroll down. And what you're going to see, there you go.
So just for the people to know that are older like me, I guess you actually literally need to click on what looks like the spools. And so I clicked on that, and that's what did it. Okay, there we go.
Yep, if you click on my tweet and you go down, you read all of these. And you got to read them in order. And what you're going to see is I lay out how the Real ID Act, which was passed under George W. Bush in 2005.
And can I just stop you right there for a second? Because last night I said the same thing. It was started under George W. Bush after 9/11. And Albert Gonzales, I think, was the attorney general pushing it. And I remember reading articles on how states did not want to comply, particularly with unfunded liabilities. But some states just didn't want to do this. And it was the states that stopped this. Well, here we have, again, the potential of the safety roadblock of the states. And our own MAGA president wants to neuter the states?
It's worse. It's worse, House. We passed the Genius Act. We have everything for digital ID and CBDCs. Let me explain how this works. Now, you'd think, because they passed we got digital, there's no CBDCs because that's banned, right? But what you said was critical. The World Economic Forum wants public-private partnerships. So let me explain. They learned this during COVID. It worked great. And so they're doing it now to circumvent our Constitution. So the Real ID Act passed in 2005 was then updated in 2020, signed by Donald Trump for the Real ID Modernization Act. Okay? And what's happened is the Real ID Act with the Real ID Modernization Act allows for digital ID. And I've got all the implementing regulation in here. I've got everything in there. And the way that this is done is they didn't want to say there's a federal database. They wanted to get around that because they knew people would have a fit. So they were very tricky. They used the World Economic Forum model. What they did was they created this database, but they said the states have to share the data, right? So then how are they going to share the data? Well, through a public-private partnership. There is a nonprofit whose job it is to share all of our real ID data amongst the states and with the federal government. So there is no federal database. There's a public-private partnership database, right? But the feds have access to it. So it has the same effect as a federal database. And there's loads of exemptions, right? So like there's a Digital Privacy Act, but there are loads of exemptions to it. So not only do the feds have access to it, not only do other states have access to it, private companies can, under numerous circumstances, get access to all that data, including digitized pictures, which means biometric data, right? So you now have, if you have real ID, you have a digital ID. And it's universal and it's throughout, it's there. And it has the force of law. Now, here's what's happening. Right now, Mike Lee has the App Store Accountability Act out there. And that sounds wonderful, right? And I don't think Mike Lee has any idea what's going on with this. I think Mike Lee probably is well-intentioned. He said, App Store Accountability Act, that sounds great. Do you know what the App Store Accountability Act is, House?
No.
It's a law whereby you have to verify your age before you can get access to certain things in the app stores for these phones. Now, that sounds like a good idea, right? Because House, you and I, we're Christians. We want to protect. I don't want my kids looking at porn. So that sounds like a great idea, right?
Yeah, I mean, and I think I've read where some states are going to do this in regards to your ability to get on certain websites. You will have to, when you hit a website, you'll have to verify your age.
Well, but here's the catch. You're going to see these verification requirements in as many places as possible, including for your children, because your children have to have an ID then too. They need to track and trace everybody. To get verification to use the App Store for anything, you've got to provide some sort of verification of your identity. That becomes your digital ID. What this is they're using all these mechanisms to force this digital ID, which is then going to run through this public-private partnership. Now, at the same time, House, while all this is, and you can follow the law on this, right? The key to this, you wouldn't see it in the press. You won't see it in the press release. You have to do what I do. You have to follow the actual legislation and regulation. It's the only way to understand what's happening. Because they lie. They lie constantly. Well, this is going to protect kids from porn. No, what it's really going to do is give them an online presence that can be tracked and traced everywhere they go, that's verifiable and that has the force of law. That's what it's really going to do. They tell Senator Lee, they tell these people, no, this is to keep porn away from kids. That's not what it is. It's about track and trace. That's the key here. So you've got that all happening. Meanwhile, we passed the Genius Act, right? And they passed this show bill saying no CBDCs, right? Now, that bill is meaningless. Let me tell you why. You've got your identity verified, and you're going to have track and trace through the Real ID nonsense. Meanwhile, you have the Genius Act. Well, you know what they did with the Genius Act, House? They gave BSA and AML access to the federal government to anything related to cryptocurrency, right? So what that means is through the Bank Secrecy Act and various anti-money laundering mechanisms, the federal government gets to look at what's going on with everything crypto, just like they do in banking. Again, public-private partnerships. The government can spy on what the company's doing to prevent money laundering, to prevent fraud. But what it really is giving Peter Thiel and Palantir, who are now in the federal government and who are creating the world's biggest track and trace AI system in history, access to all of your data. They're going to have all your financial data. They're going to have all your digital ID, and they're going to have all your health data because of Obamacare and electronic medical records that were set up there. We are right now way down the road to this digital track and trace dystopian society that the World Economics Forum's been talking about for a while. We're losing the battle, House. And this AI order, is to prevent what he's trying to do. Trump probably doesn't have a clue. But Susie Wiles and his advisors know damn well what they're doing. And what this really is to try and prevent states from being able to pass laws. Because when everybody starts losing their jobs to AI, we're in trouble. And by the way, if any of you think, well, I work in the trades, luckily I'm safe, I got news for you. Has anybody seen the Optimus robots that Elon Musk is creating? They can do any trade and anything that you do much faster, much more efficiently. They don't need breaks, and you don't have to pay them.
And Joe Allen and I were texting about this today, and he said, I wish it was just some singular cabal. It's way worse.
Yeah, no, this is, you've got all of the big tech, you've got all the big pharma. This is literally, because if you look at the World Economic Forum plans, they show how all these different industries tie together for stakeholder capitalism. Now, here's the key that nobody's talking about. Trump's doing a lot, and we're going to see the economy take off in the next year, right? Here's the problem. It's taken off, but there is no small or mid-sized business. All small and mid-sized business is being destroyed. It's all going to major corporations because they have digital vertical monopolies in almost every segment, and that's happening universally. There's no antitrust regulations being enforced anywhere. I mean, Google would have long since been broken up if anybody actually cared about the law. So would a bunch of other companies, but they're not being enforced. The reason for it is they can control all these big companies. There's a handful of big companies. The model manifested during COVID. You can see it in the way that the court cases were done. Like I said, if you're not a lawyer, you wouldn't notice this. But if you watch what happened in the court cases with COVID, why was it that Facebook could censor you? They censored the hell out of everybody. Everybody knows it, right? Well, because they're a private entity. You can't say that I have the right to post anything I want on a private company. I can't say I have the right to come on your show and say whatever I want, House. You can decide, it's your show. You decide if you want me or not, right?
Yeah.
But here's the problem. It was Joe Biden and the government that was leaning on Facebook to push that censorship. It wasn't actually Facebook that made the decisions. They made those decisions because they knew if they didn't, they were going to have the government come after them. Now, that no one succeeded in showing that in the courts. So if you're these bad guys, what do? Well, the same thing. You have this cozy little government public-private partnership that works a lot like the revolving door we see between government and big pharma. It works so well in big pharma that they're now expanding it to every sector. They just have they're going to have this revolving door between government and these big companies. They're going to get rid of all the small companies. And what you're going to see, when we talk about these billion-dollar investments in the United States, they're all major companies. There's no small companies growing. There's no small business growth. There's nothing like that. Further, we're creating a business environment where you can't actually function as a small business. Show me a segment where you can function as a small business. There's just not a market segment available. So what's happening is there'll be no competition. All these vertical monopolies will be, will exist in each market segment, and we're screwed, House. I don't know how else to say it.
So how will the average person make their living? Just universal basic income or what?
Yes, sir. So you're going to go to universal basic income because, listen, will look at right now. How many, you see the Waymos, right? I don't know how much you travel. I don't know if you got them in Nashville, but the Waymos, right?
What's that?
Waymos are driverless cabs.
Oh, okay.
Right? Robot cars, they don't have anybody driving them. It's a cab. You hail it with your phone. It comes over. Nobody drives you. It takes you wherever you're going to go. I won't take them. They're creepy as hell to me. But,
where are they running? Where are they running?
Oh, all over the place. They have them in Phoenix. They have them in tons of cities.
And what are they called?
Tons of cities.
What are they?
Waymo.
Waymo. Are you boys in the control room aware of this?
Yep.
They said, yes, they're everywhere. Well, thank you for filling in the old man.
There you go. So we just are in the process of building.
Wait a minute, here we go. Waymo is expanding to 26 cities?
Yep. Because that means no cab drivers, no Uber drivers. You don't need them, right? Instead, you got your Waymo. So that's a big part of the economy. Now think about this. There's 3 million plus truck drivers in this world. We just built our third automated self-driving semi-factory. What happens when you get rid of 3 million truck drivers' jobs? Those are jobs that keep people employed, that keep families fed, that do things. What happens when their jobs go away because you don't have to pay the truck driver? You buy the truck, it drives itself, right? Makes good sense if you're the factory owner, but not if you're the truck driver. What happens?
How did I not know this was going on, boys? I thought this
you haven't talked to me, House.
I live under a rock, they say in the control room. What's that?
That's why you gotta talk to me.
They said I never leave the studio. That's why. Well, this is true.
Yeah.
And Logan's like, you didn't know they had these? No, I didn't know. Why didn't you tell the old man this was going on already? I thought this was like stuff they were telling us was coming. You're saying it's already here. It's in 26 cities.
Yeah.
It's been going on for over a year. Well, thank you. I feel like I'm just so cutting edge right now. Thank you, boys.
House, we're not just behind, we're losing.
I didn't know that this was that far advanced. Okay, I really didn't. You're telling me this thing is able to actually drive and work through traffic and not crash.
They're running full time. If you go down, I'm doing a lot of work down in Phoenix right now. They are all over. They are everywhere.
Are they on the interstate?
Oh yeah, they're creepy as hell.
So you order one up. It shows up. You open the door. You get in, and
takes you wherever you told it to go.
Is an AI talking to you while you're going down the road or not?
I've never been in one. I'm not planning on getting in one.
Does an AI talk to you while you're going? No, they say. All right.
I think it's all through your phone.
What, Logan? Oh, you've ridden in one, Thomas? Where? In Nashville? Really? Isn't that? Look at this. It shows you on the map where you are and how long. Someone had a problem and over the internet. Oh, so someone had a problem and someone came on the intercom talking to him. So an Indian person. So they're overseeing your drive from India. This brings up the whole point. So goodbye Uber drivers. We have a lady that listens who's an Uber driver out of LA. She's a supporter. She contributes to our foundation. She passes out our Worldview Tube cards that, we've now sent out like 25, 30,000 of these. People can order them for free at worldviewtube.com and you can pass them out. And she's an Uber driver in the LA area. I know we're going to hear from her tonight after I mention that. She always likes to text my wife and encourage us. But you're telling me her job is gone eventually here, right?
Yeah. Along with all of our truck drivers, everything else. There is not a single segment of industry that's safe because understand, right now, the robots aren't there, but the robots that are being created, and this isn't science fiction. I literally was at an event not too long ago with one of these robots. Now, this one was controlled by someone locally, but the AI systems that are going to run these robots, they'll be essentially autonomous, and they can do pretty much anything a human can do better, right? They don't make mistakes. At least they won't eventually. AI will be smarter than us. And when AI is given a body, which that's what we're doing, what job can you do where you can outwork a robot? You need time off. You need a paycheck. If I buy the robot, I sign one check. If I pay you, I got to keep paying you. Human jobs will go away. And then what happens? Well, universal basic income. Now, here's the trick. I even got that part for you, House. You want to know what they're going to do to help get you some money?
What?
You're going to control, in theory, your data. They're going to try and give you ownership of your data, and you can share it for your universal basic income, for your fee, right? So you can make money sharing
your data. Becomes your currency.
They're looking at this. I found out about this. I was in D.C. doing some work. God help me. Every time I go there, I feel dirty. But I was in D.C. doing some work, and they've got, if you talk to the guys in health, right, and this is being driven largely in the health space, they're moving to these AI, you're going to have a cancer cure, an mRNA AI-based cancer cure. They test your blood in 48 hours. They give you their mRNA vaccine to cure your cancer.
I wouldn't take it. I don't trust them, but okay.
Well, I hope not. I mean, for God's sakes, I hope you wouldn't. But anyways, so what they're doing is they're going to know everything about you, everything, right? So your behaviors are going to be monitored. Your genetics are going to be known. Everything about you is going to be known. They're moving for digital ID to be under the skin so they can track your brainwaves, track your body, track everything about you. And what's going to happen is they want to try and claim that you own your information and that your participation in the new economy will be based on your willingness to sell your data and contribute to society. That sounds a little bit like a communist dystopia. It is. Here's the thing, though. When you can no longer get a job and the only thing you have access to is your data, you will also be required to participate in the government healthcare system. So you're going to have to, get your vaccines and get your this and get your that. I mean, where this is going is terrifying. And this sounds, House, I can imagine, you mentioned, some of the older people that are listening to this and they're thinking, oh my God, this sounds like science. It sounds nonsense, sounds science fiction. House, I went through the whole thing with COVID with you. Was there one time I couldn't back up what I was saying? I got that. I can show you the receipts. If we had the hours and hours and hours to go through the research I've done, the work I've done, all I've done is follow the law, follow the regulation, and follow the publicly available data. Nothing I'm telling you is classified. It's not secret. It's hidden in plain sight. People just don't know where to look. It's out there. This is where they're going with things. There's no question about it. It's so sci-fi that most of us
again. I apologize to the audience for being so out of touch that I didn't even know what Waymo was. But apparently they're running 450,000 paid rides per week. That's what this guy here is putting out there, which is almost double April's 250,000 as it expands onto freeways and into new cities. They argue the surge is justified because Waymo is already 10 times safer than human drivers. Is that all true?
Yep.
Ooh, I got to start following this guy. I don't even know who he is.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the statistics for Waymo, but I know that
he's the chief marketing strategist for some company. All right, I'm going to follow him just to see what he's up to, what he's talking about. But yeah, this is blowing my mind. So this isn't 5 years out. How quick does all this happen?
It's happening now. We've passed the laws. Like I said, look at my Twitter thread. The digital ID, you have it.
I don't have a real ID. I still have the old-fashioned.
You will, House. You're going to have no choice on it, right? Because if you want to participate in commerce, you're going to have the mark. Now here's the deal. I know that's a dramatic statement, but at the end of the day, you will have to. They will create a situation. What happens when there's no small business? Do you see small businesses thriving right now, House? I don't.
No.
When small business goes away, you work with the big business. So what happens when, if you want to buy your groceries, there's only 2 or 3 big businesses you can buy it from. And what happens when they quit taking cash, they only accept crypto? What happens when you can't get groceries without having crypto? And if you want to have crypto, you've got to have your real ID.
Why can't I just keep using a credit card?
Well, you're going to have to verify your ID for your credit cards. You got to verify your ID. Remember, we're giving up our freedom for security. We've done it already. We do it every time we fall for it. We got to stop these guys. They're stealing our identity, House. They're stealing our identity. So you got to verify your ID.
So you're thinking that a lot of this is going to be in place before President Trump even leaves office?
Agenda 2030, man. It's already being put in place.
I've been talking about Agenda 21 since 1992, 1993, when the Earth Summit in Rio was going on. So yeah,
they're right on. Mm-hmm. They're right on pace, man.
Do you think President Trump will go down as one? Because I said a few months ago, I thought if Trump continues on this trajectory with Christians, with real Christians, discerning Christians, and real discerning conservatives and constitutionalists and patriots, he will go down as one of the most unpopular presidents in American history. Do you think that's true?
I think it'll be hindsight being 2020, and it'll be too late when we figure it out.
Right.
The problem is that those of us, House, I'm 48 years old, right? So I'm kind of, I'm getting older. I hear about things that, from my kids that I didn't know were happening, right? I hear about things that, I'm just not in the same. There's a lot of stuff happening that a lot of us are older. The guys, those of us who would fight, who would stand against this stuff, there's a lot of things happening that we're only vaguely aware of or we're not aware
Well,
of.
I didn't even
Things
know about
are moving
Waymo
quick.
until a few minutes ago. So yes, and I'm 56, by the way. So
Well, and this is, you got less gray hair than me. I mean, what's going on here? But here's the deal.
I take a lot of
There's a lot.
I do Numi, I do Galatana, I do Bella Grace, I do a lot of very powerful stuff. That's why.
Oh yeah. Well, hey, I got my stuff too. I won't advertise on your show, or I'd grab because I got my. But no. Here, the thing about it is, House, is I think that for a lot of us that would fight back, and I think this is what's happened. This is why I don't think Donald Trump is necessarily a bad guy. I just think he's being lied to and manipulated by the people around him.
Right.
You and I can barely keep up with this. Trump is, I mean, he's not young. Okay, he's an old dude. A lot of this stuff, when you and I hear about it, it just sounds like gobbledygook. Imagine being the president. I mean, he's got another 30 years on me, right? So throw another 30 years on me. Someone tells you, hey, AI is going to make sure that everybody's got a great job and everybody makes lots of money, and the U.S. is going to be the leader of the world. They feed him a line of stuff. He doesn't know what AI is. I mean, he doesn't understand the depth of what it is. The guy is almost 80 years old. And I don't think he's a brilliant. I mean, listen, I wouldn't want to negotiate against Trump in a business deal. I'd lose. I mean, the guy's a master. He's a brilliant man. The problem is that he has to rely on experts for certain situations. And when we start talking about AI, when we start talking about RNA in a vaccine, right? Who the hell even knows what that means? The amount of work that I had to do to learn what I learned on COVID, or to talk about what we just did with the AI systems and where we are, I spent months studying this, House. Months. And I mean, I am a prolific reader, 10,000 pages a month on, some months, right? I study. Donald Trump can't do that. He's got a country to run, right? So he's got to rely on his advisors. If Susie Wiles, if Pam Bondi, if his tech advisors, if they're lying to him, Mr. President, you're brilliant. I know you're going to do the right thing for our country. Look at what's going to happen if we do this and this and this, right? How's he going to know the difference? And so what I think ends up happening is, unless MAGA gets loud and says, Trump, we love you, but we're not okay with the direction we're going. This isn't MAGA. This is anti-human. It's anti-worker. It's unsafe. It certainly is not Maha to have Bill Gates and Anthony Bourla at the White House instead of the big house. When we look at this stuff.
Do you think that his kids are selling him on this as well?
I don't know what his kids are doing with it. I don't know where they're at on it. I know one thing. I know they're making a lot of money in crypto, but I don't know. I don't think it's as much as kids. From what I've heard, Trump picks who he's going to listen to, and he does what he's going to do, from what I'm told. I don't know the president. But I know a lot of people who are very close with him, who've known it, and everybody says the same thing. Trump decides what he's going to do, and then he does it. The problem is he's got some real evil people around him. But the good news is Trump decides what he's going to do, and then he does it. And one thing that he does is he listens when we, the people, get real loud. If enough of us speak up, I got to believe he'll take a look at what's happening. And if we get some good people around it, I mean, I got to be honest with you. I would love to see General Flynn. I don't know if the general, I know the general well. We do a show together now and then, and we do different things together. But I've not talked with him. I can't say whether he would accept in a position in this administration. But the general's aware of some of these things. I'd love to see him in there, and some other people that can't be bought off. But the first thing we got to do is you got to fire that crooked chief of staff of his and Pam Bondi. Those two got to go real quick, or he's going to get toasted in these midterms. And then when he gets toasted, they're going to try and hang this on him. Trump had campaigned with everything he had, and the people rejected his agenda. Now we have a Democrat House and Senate. Of course they're going to impeach him. That's where this is going to go. If we're not careful, we don't see some changes now. Wiles needs to go. Bondi needs to go. We need to get some MAGA people around Trump, some real legit MAGA people, not people who are popular. Trump's going to have to quit looking for AGs that look good on, on Fox News and start looking for AGs that do the job. That's our best bet, but we're going to have to speak out on it, just like we did with Epstein. Now, by the way, hey, one thing on that. You see this, they're going to talk about the grand jury releases. Mm-hmm. That's a red herring house. That's not real. So that grand jury nonsense, the grand jury, when you present to a grand jury, it's the prosecutors that decide what they're going to present. The prosecutors didn't present everything that they've got to the grand jury, right? There's no way that the DOJ went in and said, yeah, we've got this evidence that Epstein was working with, this foreign country and that foreign country and our CIA and was at a blackmail. They didn't say that. They never said that. They might have talked about Epstein, and some trafficking, and they might have talked about it with some different people. There is no way in hell the DOJ. So the grand jury thing was always a red herring. Don't fall for it. What the other thing is even with this law, which I like the law, Massey did a good job on this. Massey MTG fighting for that law, that's a good thing. But even with that, the State Department is the one who's got data on foreign countries and their relationship to Epstein and his child trafficking. That will never be released, ever in a million years. They will also not release anything related to national security, which talks about the CIA ties with Epstein stuff. Those two things are exempted from that Epstein law. So we'll get some juicy stuff, some things. They'll give us a little bit they'll throw a dog a bone, but Bondi's going to redact anything she can redact, and we're never going to see the national security stuff, the CIA tie-in. We're never going to see the foreign tie-ins. That stuff's going to be hidden.
Here we go. Let's see. I want to plug your account here, or if I can find it again. I had it up here, guys. Where did I do with it? If you want to follow, here it is. If you want to follow him on X, there it is, at TomRenz.com. You just go TomRenz.com, I should say, TomRenz.com. On X, his handle is just at RenzTom, at RenzTom. He has his own show, the Tom Renz Show. He is an attorney, as you've been hearing, and he spends a lot of time reading. We got to get you on more regularly. This has been a fascinating conversation. I've learned a great deal tonight, Tom.
I've been doing my homework, House.
Yes,
I don't talk unless I know what I'm saying.
It's very obvious you've done your homework. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, House.
Check out his website, folks, TomRenz.com, and then follow him on X. Got 354,000 people following him. Wow. At Renz. All right, guys. We've got a very special program to bring you. I aired it on radio today, live. A lady that was a Muslim, born and raised in a Muslim family. She saw a beheading of a lady when she was about 8 years old. And then she became very frightened by her father after he would come home from the mosque. She lives here in the U.S., made it from overseas with her family here to the U.S., lived in the Bible Belt for many, many years. No one ever shared Jesus with her for many of those years. Someone finally invited her to church. You have to hear her testimony. I aired it today at 1 o'clock Central. We received so much feedback on it. I want to make sure as many people as possible see it. We've edited out the breaks, some of the stuff that Aaron and I talked about before, and I just brought it down to her testimony as a standalone. You better tweet, text, email, Facebook, get her Truth Social, your family and friends. You've got to see this. You will be encouraged. And it'll also kind of help refocus us tonight to understand with all that's going on in the world, as we just heard, that's not very positive in many regards. There's one thing that we can do, that we can invest ourselves in, that is going to pay dividends, not only for the people you share the gospel with, but for us. And that is, again, sharing the gospel. For those of us who are believers, our salvation is not based on works. There's justification, instant salvation through faith in Christ alone, his death, his burial, his resurrection. But we do know there is something then called sanctification, ongoing faithfulness and obedience. And the Bible says that for believers, we will be involved in what's called the Bema Seat judgment. And the scriptures make it very clear that we're not being judged for salvation, but our works are being judged, not so we can receive guaranteed salvation. No, the Bible is very clear. That's not what it's for. It is for crowns, for rewards. So, my friends, the Bible says that we are to lay up treasures in heaven where dust and moth doesn't corrupt. Maybe as we realize that so many of us have worked so long, many of you longer than I have, some not as long, but various folks watching tonight are on different journeys as far as their age and how long they've worked. But most of us in this audience have worked at some length of time hard, put away, and we've saved, and yet we're at risk of losing a lot of it, if not all of it. I'm not looking forward to that. I don't want that to happen for you, for me, for any of us. But the older I get and the more I see what's happening, the more I'm aware of the fact that at the end of the day, all it's going to be that's left is what we have sent ahead of us, storing up treasures in heaven. And you can do that tonight by, well, sharing the gospel with people, including Muslims, sharing the gospel with people, inviting them to a real Bible teaching church, showing them love. Well, that's what someone did with our next guest, a Muslim gal who at 8 was traumatized when she saw a woman beheaded, and then began to realize the God of Islam is not a personal God. So, folks, maybe this is the proper time to air this, to show that really, at the end of the day, our true calling is the Great Commission. And we are indeed, when we do this, storing up treasures, racking up rewards at the Bema seat. And guess what? Those can't be taken from you, not by the World Economic Forum, not by the public-private partnerships, not by central bank digital currency. They are secure. So maybe this is the proper time, as I said, to share this testimony as we conclude tonight. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to go to it. And I hope you'll tweet, text, email, Facebook, Getter, Truth Social, and tell a lot of people to watch. I think you're going to be encouraged, but also inspired. I know I was, and we got a lot of emails, a lot of messages today about this. You're going to see it on the other side. Don't go away.